Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flows like eggs. Looked at a while, lag, and pray for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results from Collision on February 8th to the results on SmackDown from February 14th, as well as the NXT Vengeance Day PLE. We will start with Collision. We get the Death Riders. They jump some security and get into the ring. John Moxley is not about to give Cope a title shot. Instead, he does agree to the tag match at Grand Slam, which Jay White and Cope had kind of challenged him to the previous week. We then get the Undisputed Kingdom. They defeat the teams of Garcia, Menard, and Parker, and Shane Taylor Promotions when Adam Cole hits the boom on Shawn Dean. Post-match, the Death Riders run down and beat down the Undisputed Kingdom. The beatdown is on, but Cole, after they kind of stop beating him down, Cole issues a challenge for the Trios titles on Dynamite, and it is seemingly accepted. We then get an FTR promo package. We then get Max Caster saying his open challenge is still set for Dynamite this week. We then get Bandito defeating Brian Keith via pinfall following the 21 plex. We then get Powerhouse Hobbs. He challenges Big Bill once again for Dynamite. We then get La Facción Ingobernables squashing Aries Alexander, Jay Alexander, and Brick Savage when Roosh hits the horns on Aries. Post-match, they continue to beat them down. Commander comes out to try and make the save. Commander ends up kind of getting beaten down himself, and then we get the return of Hologram as he makes the save officially. We then get Thunder Rosa and Megan Bayne having a bit of a stare down before Rosa talks about being ready for her match with Penelope Ford. We then get Harley Cameron. She has a concert. She has the Mercedes Moné puppet with her as usual. She sings a song about the money train, talking about wanting to ride the money train that Mercedes is on right now. She just says that over and over and over again. Mercedes Moné comes out and interrupts, saying everyone is here to see her, not Harley. Harley then sings another song about how Mercedes is scared to feel the wrath, but of course Mercedes cuts her off again, calls her a loser. Cameron goes on a rant about how she's worked hard to get here and has her hand and she has her hand in Mercedes's ass, but obviously talking about the puppet. Mercedes then gets a mic shot, or Harley then takes Mercedes down with a mic shot, and then Mercedes eventually agrees to the title match at Grand Slam. We then get a sit-down interview with Buddy Matthews in what is seemingly an empty chair that Okada should be filling, but Okada strolls in a little late with Buddy talking about how it's Australia's best versus Japan's best. They go nose to nose, and Okada, of course, calls him a bitch, only for Buddy to make him flinch when he kind of tries to, or acts like he's about to punch him. We then get Dustin Rhodes. He squashes Izzy James, last hitting the Crossroads. Post-match, Rhodes talks about how MJF calls himself the devil, but Rhodes has already beaten the devil up. He has been doing this for 5 decades and put in the effort, and MJF can't do the same thing. Rhodes issues a challenge for Dynamite later this week. We then get the Death Riders. They are ready to beat the Undisputed Kingdom on Dynamite. Thunder Rosa then defeats Penelope Ford via pinfall following the Tijuana bomb. Post-match, Megan Bayne comes out for a stare down with Ford jumping Rosa from behind, and then Bayne drops Rosa with an F5. We then look at Ricochet cheating to beat Swerve Strickland and stealing Prince Nana's robe, and then over the weekend, Strickland attacked Ricochet at an independent show, but couldn't get the robe back in the process. We then get a fella in the backstage named Bun B. He is here in the backstage getting interviewed by Lexi. Ricochet interrupts, mocks him for being Swerve's friend. Ricochet tries one of the burgers that he is selling and spits it out because he thinks it's disgusting. And then Ricochet randomly beats up the guy that is serving the burgers. And Bun B is not quite happy about it. We then get Mariah May. She defeats Shay Carmichael via pinfall following Mayday. Post-match, she attacks Carmichael with the lipstick, but Luther is out, which is Tony Storm's butler, for a distraction, and then Storm jumps May from behind and sends her running. We then get the Don Callis family in the backstage, and they beat up random jobbers and security guys with Mark Davis eventually joining in as he's their newest member. We then get Kyle Fletcher defeating Mark Briscoe via pinfall, via pinfall following the brainbuster on the top turnbuckle. And then post-match, Fletcher promises to win at Grand Slam in his tag match against Ospreay and Omega. That match was absolutely the best match of the show, maybe the best match of the week overall, but really, really good stuff from Fletcher and Briscoe there. It was blood. It was just an all-out battle between the two guys. We'll move from there, though, to Raw. Jey Uso comes through the crowd, does this usual thing with the crowd, does all the yeeting and dances to his music. He again gets a request for an encore. He gets on the table to do it, but Gunther actually cuts him off, attacks him from behind, trips him, beats him down. He gets a power bomb to lay him out, and he is shouting at him to not do it. Obviously meaning don't choose him to challenge for the title. We then have agents and refs kind of come out and pull Gunther off, and Uso grabs the mic and makes the challenge official. And then he actually goes and dives out onto Gunther, and they eventually are able to split both of them up. But Gunther versus Uso is going to be your World Heavyweight title match at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley thinks Charlotte is stalling as she tries to stay relevant. Io Sky and Dakota Kai come in, and Sky says she's coming for Ripley for costing her spot at WrestleMania. That doesn't seem to bother Ripley, who says she's looking forward to it whenever it happens. Then get a video to hype up the War Raiders versus the Creed Brothers match later on tonight. Damage Control then defeats Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez when Io hits the over the moonsault on Liv, which is kind of surprising because they seem to have been building Liv and Raquel as kind of Bianca and Naomi's next challengers for the tag titles. So kind of weird for them to take a loss there, but they really just kind of wanted to get Io, back on top after she kind of took a loss in the qualifying match and got kind of screwed. We then look at Kevin Owens attacking Sami Zayn last week, and Owens blaming Zayn for not helping him at the Royal Rumble. We then get Bayley defeating Lyra Valkyria via pinfall with the roll-up. This qualifies Bayley for the Elimination Chamber, and the two showed respect after the match. We then get another pretty cool Penta video, kind of hyping him up and kind of where he's coming next, going after Ludwig Kaiser and Pete Dunne. Ludwig Kaiser then gets interviewed, says he's not impressed with Penta, but Pete Dunne comes in to suggest that he is going to be the one to take out Penta. Dunne is going to take Penta out next week, with Kaiser saying Dunne is all his. With Dunne gone, AJ Styles comes up and kind of has a face-off with Ludwig before he starts to walk to the ring. The Alpha Academy then console Lyra Valkyria when American Maid comes in and mocks her. Valkyria isn't having any of it and yells back at Ivy Nile. We then get AJ Styles out for a chat. Styles talks about having flashbacks here because 4 months ago he came back in this building and then got injured in his first match. He thought his career was over that night, but the next morning he knew he had more to prove. There are things he wants to do, and here is Carlito and Dominic Mysterio to interrupt. As usual, Dominic obviously can barely get a word in because he's getting booed mercilessly. He finally manages to tell Styles that things have changed around here, but Styles says he doesn't see Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, or Finn Balor. Instead, all he sees is the guys in skinny jeans, a guy in skinny jeans, and Dominic, who no one likes. Styles does like Dominic's work ethic, but Dominic will always be Rey Mysterio's punk ass kid. And then they kind of brawl, and Styles is able to clear the ring. We then get Jackie Redmond. She's kind of in her little perch spot in the crowd that they seem to put her in every week, and she's with Seth Rollins. Jackie Redmond asked about the Elimination Chamber. Rollins is fired up to get his chance at a title. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and he lists off his nicknames before being interrupted by Finn Balor, who will be his opponent in his qualifying match. He is not impressed by Rollins, as he thinks Rollins is overlooking him. Rollins says he has unfinished business with CM Punk, and he'd like to tie up some loose ends with Cody Rhodes. Balor is standing in his way, but soon he won't be standing at all. AJ Styles is then able to get a match with Dominic Mysterio next week, and then he runs into Braun Breaker for a pretty intense stare down. A lot of stare downs on this Raw, it seems. War Raiders are able to defeat the Creed brothers via DQ when Julius Creed hits Ivar with the title belt, and then Brutus Creed hits Eric with the other title belt after the match to kind of leave both champs laying. So they don't, as much as the Creed brothers seem to have lost their chance there. The way it worked out, it seems that they'll probably face each other again. We then get Finn Balor. He isn't impressed with the Judgment Day's activities lately, but Dom says things could get better. Dom suggests adding a new member with Balor not having any of it, saying he's going to win next week and move on to WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley then tells Io Sky she's getting a title match on the Raw after Elimination Chamber because Ripley went and asked Adam Pearce for it, and Io Sky seems excited and thankful for that idea. We then get CM Punk. He comes out for a chat. Punk talks about how Jey Uso is already set for the World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania, so that leaves the Elimination Chamber. He's already in it, and there's one person in it who didn't even have to qualify. At some point in the Elimination Chamber, Punk and Cena are going to see each other, and Punk is going to beat him down. The other person to qualify for the match is Drew McIntyre, who knows what it's like to be in a big cage with Punk. He's ready for either Finn Balor or Seth Rollins, and all that matters is he is going to WrestleMania. Logan Paul, whose match is next to qualify for the Elimination Chamber, says he gets why they call him Punk. Paul could come up with a bunch of better names, but he can't say them on TV. He said throwing out Punk of the Royal Rumble was a great 15 minutes of fame for Punk, and tonight Rey Mysterio will get his as well. Punk then says, the way they're booing you, you would think that you're Dominic Mysterio. Punk says he didn't mention Paul's name because he had forgotten he was even in a qualifying match tonight. But he said, as far as numbers, tonight's number for Logan Paul is 619, because obviously he'll be facing Rey Mysterio. But Logan Paul is able to defeat Rey Mysterio via pinfall following the pulverizer. This qualifies him for the Elimination Chamber, and then post-match, Paul kind of leaves the ring, and New Day jumps Mysterio to kind of end the show. And it actually cuts off pretty abruptly because that they like attack him, and then it goes to the credits and cuts off, so we don't even really see the bulk of the attack. But pretty solid episode of Raw. Lots of good matches. But I would go with that Damage Control versus Liv and Raquel for my match of the night. Logan and Ray was pretty good. I will say I think that's the greenest I think I've ever seen. Logan Paul, I feel like he made quite a few botches and kind of seemed out of place in a couple of spots. Not horribly or anything like that. And he's been so good in his spots that he's been in for as long as he's been there at this point. So I'll give him a break, but he seemed just a little bit off more than usual in this one. But Damage Control and Liv and Raquel was a really, really good tag match. So I will give it to that for best match on Raw. We then go to NXT. We open with Cora Jade defeating Bayley via pinfall after Roxanne distracts and Cora hits Jada twice, once on the floor and once again in the ring. Cora Jade is celebrating. We go backstage where Ava whispers something to Julia, who nods. Ava then comes out and adds Cora Jade to the women's title match at Vengeance Day, and then Bayley lays out a surprised Roxanne Perez, who was kind of distracted by the announcement. We then get Nikita Lyons. She mocks Sol Ruca and Zarya, so a match is set for later between Zarya and Nikita. Oba Femi is then out. Femi is ready to face both members of A-Town Down Under at Vengeance Day, even if it's really a handicap match. They can make a mistake of trying to get together to take him out. And then A-Town Down Under comes out to interrupt. The two of them aren't impressed with Femi, with Theory talking about how Waller doesn't get the respect he deserves around here. Waller says Theory can ride shotgun when he becomes NXT champion, which lets Femi say it sounds like both of them want to be champion. Waller is tired of hearing about Theory being United States champion and beating John Cena, but Theory points out that Waller has never done anything on his own, never winning any titles by himself. They agree to go after Femi and manage to put him down, only to argue over who gets to hold the title as they kind of both hold each end of it. We then get a video of Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe for the weekend, with Thorpe wanting a strap match at Vengeance Day. We then get an announcement that Javon Evans is medically cleared to return, but if he gets hurt again, he could be out of action for a couple of months. Evans then has to sign a liability waiver for his match with Ethan Page at Vengeance Day, which kind of, one of those wrestling things is kind of ridiculous, but it does exist and it is a thing. So, but then we get a match, a really, really good tag match where Yoshiki Inamura and Josh Briggs defeat Hank and Tank and the No Quarter Catch crew when Inamura hits a top rope splash on Hank. After the match, Fraxium thinks that Briggs and Inamura deserve a title shot, so they'll see them at Vengeance Day. We then get Stax. He apologizes to Tony D'Angelo, who says everything is cool, which everything seems to be between all of the members of the family. We then get Lexus King. He defends his Heritage Cup successfully against JDC via pinfall with a hanging coronation. Roxanne Perez then rants to Ava about Cora being added to the match. Bayley doesn't want to hear the complaining, but does say that this is the best Perez has ever looked, as she kind of dressed up as Bayley to do the distraction earlier in the night. That was something I didn't mention. Jade then comes in and doesn't like what Perez said and says she'll be the one that wins on Sunday or on Saturday. Fatal Influence then says Fallon is ready to defend her title against Stephanie Vaquer at Vengeance Day. Kalani Jordan and Jada Parker both come in and say that they want title shots. But Ashante the Adonis comes in and says Carmen should be the one getting title shots as she's beaten them both. And then continued arguing ensues. We then get Zarya defeating Nikita Lyons via pinfall following an F5. Trick Williams agrees to the strap match with Eddie Thorpe. We get a rundown of the Vengeance Day card, and then out of nowhere, the former AEW star Ricky Starks shows up in the crowd. They don't really give him a name. They really still haven't even named him based on the Vengeance Day little promo he cut either. But the crowd does call him Ricky Starks and chants his name. He says, "You obviously know who I am." Starks says, "You need to be an absolute star around here," and he is here to turn this place upside down. So, big get for NXT for sure. Adds another star to the men's side, which they are in desperate need of. So, good to see him show up, and hopefully he'll be a pretty big part of what they do pretty quickly. We then go to the back, and Julia and Stephanie Vaquer wish each other luck at Vengeance Day, with Vaquer hinting that she's coming for Julia's title, even if she does win the title she's going for at Vengeance Day. We then get Andre Chase. He meets Uriah Connors backstage, but he says he can't party on a school night. Kel Dixon said he thought Chase U was dead, and Chase says it is, but old habits die hard. We then get our main event match where Tony D'Angelo retains his North American Championship over Ridge Holland in a cage match following a crowbar shot and a big spinebuster. Post-match, Holland and the family, minus Tony, kind of brawl to the back, and then Sean Spears and company come out with Izzy Dame still being in the cage with Tony, and she turns on him and knocks him down, and then a beat down from Sean Spears' crew with the cage door locked, obviously. And Tony D'Angelo is pretty beat up pretty good. And then to follow that, we get a pretty long hype video for Vengeance Day. And then at the end, we get a look at the 4 mystery guys that have kind of been shown in the, kind of shown in these like little cutback videos where it kind of goes to that little testing screen, and then it cuts to them showing them standing around with some like skull mask on this time. So um, it said Vengeance Day on it every time. So obviously it seems like they're going to show up at Vengeance Day. We haven't gotten any identities, and I don't think they really name any of them uh, as of Vengeance Day. So we will see probably next Tuesday what they're all about. But the triple threat tag match that Enna and Briggs won was absolutely the best match of the show. Bailey and Cora Jade was also pretty good, but I would give the props to that tag match, as it was one of the best NXT matches that there's been in a hot minute on TV. We will go to Dynamite from there. Max Caster is out for his latest open challenge. Hangman Page answers it and quickly defeats Max Caster with the buckshot lariat. We then get a video of Ricochet stealing Prince Nana's robe last week, with Nana saying Strickland doesn't need to make everything personal. Swerve points out that what happened when he let Hangman Page get away with making it personal. And obviously they're kind of at a standoff there. We then get the Death Riders retaining their Trios Championship against the Undisputed Kingdom, when Yuta takes advantage of a ref distraction, hitting a low blow on O'Reilly and then inside cradling him. After the match, they beat down them again until Matt Menard, Daniel Garcia, and Angelo Parker make the save. We then get Cope and Jay White. They steal the briefcase from Marina Shafir that contains the world title. We then get MJF. He says he's ready for Dustin Rhodes, but Hangman Page cuts him off, saying this is his interview. MJF isn't impressed and says this isn't the real Page. These people deserve an apology, and MJF is going to beat Dustin and get a step closer to his world title. We then get the team of Shibata, Samoa Joe, and Hook squashing the jobber team of Cruz, Grillo, and Solo, with Joe hitting the muscle buster on Cruz. After the match, Joe talks about how they always have problems and their solution is always beating people up, and that brings him to Christian Cage and the Patriarchy, and they lay out a challenge for them. We then get Chris Jericho. He challenges Bandito to a duel later on in the night. Marina Shafir then jumps Willow Nightingale, and John Moxley makes threats. We then get Chris Jericho out for the duel with Bandito, for once he's actually alone. Bandito then comes out and they go back to back for 10 paces, and then the Learning Tree run in for the beatdown, only for the Outrunners to make the save. Big Bill goes to collect the bounty, but Powerhouse Hobbs comes in for a spine buster to put Bill down, and then Bandito ends up getting his hat back that had gotten knocked off and stolen by the Learning Tree. Dustin Rhodes then said he is ready to take out MJF and calls him a bitch. MJF then is able to defeat Dustin Rhodes via submission with a crossface, and Dustin kind of just passes out from the pain. Post-match, MJF grabs he locks in his Salt of the Earth armbar once again, but Hangman Page comes out and makes the save. The brawl is on, and security can't break it up, so they head into the crowd. Security finally separates them, and MJF poses, but of course, MJF gets back in the ring, calls out Page, who gets back in the ring to keep up with the brawl, and thank goodness Page was there, as it's not like any of Dustin's three partners were going to make the save. You know, he's the six-man tag team champions on ROH and the tag team champions, and Sammy Guevara and the Von Erichs were absolutely nowhere to be seen. So real good continuity there for the ROH brand, of course. But yeah, none of his partners there. But luckily Hangman was looking out for him. We then get Megan Bayne. She defeats Maya World via pinfall following an F5. Chris Statlander defeats Penelope Ford via pinfall following the Saturday Night Fever. Post-match, Megan Bayne comes back out and F5s Statlander on the floor. We then get a Harley Cameron music video. She's with the Mercedes Moné puppet, of course. We then cut to Cameron. She kind of sings for a little bit, and then she kind of cuts herself off and has like a serious little moment and talks about how she is glad that Monet pushed her to becoming better, and now it's time for her to win the TBS title in her home country. We then get the Hurt Syndicate. They defend their tag team titles successfully against the Guns when Lashley hits a spine buster and a spear on Colton. Post-match, Brian Cage and Lance Archer come out for a stare down as they seemingly want the next shot. Mariah May then is ready to take out Toni Storm, who is nothing without her. Storm is going down, and it's going to be a mercy killing. And then we get our main event promo where Jay White and Cope come out with the briefcase. He teases opening the briefcase, but instead busts out his 2x4 with nails that is called Spike, threatening the briefcase unless Moxley gets out here. Moxley comes out with the Death Riders, who talk about how Cope has no idea how much the title means to him. Moxley threatens to break Cope's neck and gives him the title match at Revolution. Cope then crushes the briefcase with Spike as White cuts off Wheeler Yuta. Pac's distraction lets Marina Shafir get the briefcase, but Cope and White take them out to end the show. Solid show, solid in-ring show once again. It's been a pretty solid in-ring week overall, but MJF and Dustin would be match of the night for me on this show specifically. So really, really good stuff by both of those guys. If MJF usually has a TV match, it's usually going to be at a certain level. He doesn't really wrestle unless he has the ability to kind of make a match be kind of what he wants it to be. And it's going to be maybe not an epic, but, it's going to be a little bit more paid attention to than just a random match. So, but we'll move from there to Impact. We get open with Joe Hendry defeating Jake Something via pinfall with a standing ovation. Post-match, Ryan Nemeth comes out to yell at Hendry, but Santino Marella interrupts. Nick Nemeth then comes out to go after Something, but ends up super kicking Santino by mistake. And after the commercial and it comes back, Nick apologizes to Santino, but Santino suspends him for a month without pay. I'm pretty sure is what they end up landing on. But Nemeth then kind of seems okay with that and leaves. We then get the Ash and Heather by Elegance defeating the Queen Bees, or the King Bees, I think is what their name was, when Heather hits one of the bees with a Spanish fly. Post-match, the bees get beaten down and have an L lipsticked on their forehead, and then Spitfire eventually comes out and makes the save to see that feud kind of continue. We look back at the Hardys and Leon Slater beating down the System last week. The Hardys thank Slater for being there last week, and Slater thanks them for being his inspiration. We get a video from earlier in the day where Mustafa Ali held a town hall where he introduced his cabinet, the Great Hands, formerly the Good Hands, of course, and his secretary, Tasha Steeles. Ali declares himself the number one contender to the world title, but Tommy Dreamer comes in to say, not so fast on that one. We then get Frankie Kazarian defeating Sami Callihan via submission with a chicken wing. Callahan had been jumped by Mance Warner and Steph DeLander before the match, which kind of made him easy pickings for Kaz. Post-match, Callahan wants to fight Warner some more. The brawl is on, with security not being able to do much because both of them are such maniacs. We then get Josh Alexander. He says he knows Eric Young doesn't like him, but he will respect him after tonight. JDC then runs into Leon Slater, calls him a kid, and tells him that the Hardys are just using him, and then they have a little quick brawl that's kind of broken up by security and such. We then get Cora Jade. She defeats Zaya Brookside via pinfall following Jaded. Ariana Grace, the liaison from NXT, talks to Tessa Blanchard, who yells at her in response. Santino then comes in to break up the shouting match and gives Blanchard a match next week. We then get the Rascals. They come out for a chat. They said they aren't happy with Wes Lee and his boys interfering, but they have Ace Austin to kind of even things up. Lee and DuPont and Igwe come out, and they are ready to fight. Ace then comes out to even things up, but some low blows puts the Rascals and Ace down as Wes and Igwe and DuPont stand tall. We then get First Class. They say they think it's time for an upgrade, so maybe adding a new member of some sort. We then get Masha Slamovich defeating Savannah Evans via pinfall with the Requiem Pile Driver to retain her Knockouts Championship. And then in Josh Alexander's last TNA match, he actually takes the loss to Eric Young via pinfall following a shot from one of Eric Young's hockey masks and a pile driver. And of course, kind of like I said with MJF, Josh doesn't particularly wrestle on TV that often. So when he does, it's going to be a really good match. So that was the best match for Impact. It was kind of shorter than I would think. They made it kind of a big deal that it was his last match. So I think it was kind of shorter than I would have expected it to be, but a solid match nonetheless. And then we'll go to our last TV show for the week before we get to Vengeance Day. But we'll do SmackDown. Cody Rhodes comes out to start the show. He says now that Jey Uso has challenged Gunther at WrestleMania, the Elimination Chamber winner will be who Cody Rhodes will face. He says, will it be Logan Paul, Punk, McIntyre, Cena? The fans seem to favor Punk and Cena in that situation. Rhodes kind of points out, but he would rather talk about someone who will not be in it, and that would be Solo Sikoa. Drew McIntyre comes out to interrupt, says he didn't like being just a name on the list that he just listed off. Rhodes gives him a more enthusiastic, also Drew McIntyre, with McIntyre listing off his accolades. Is it the former multi-time world champion Drew McIntyre? Maybe he has to remind Rhodes who he is, but Rhodes remembers McIntyre beating him. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga then come out to interrupt, with Fatu saying McIntyre already has his spot in the chamber. Now it's time for Fatu to get his spot and go to WrestleMania and bring the title back to the family. McIntyre then thinks people want to see him fight Fatu right now, but nah, because McIntyre already has his spot. McIntyre then says, "Hey Cody, I think he wants to talk to you." Rhodes is ready to face Fatu at WrestleMania if that's what it comes to, but we see Solo Sikoa arriving in the back, and Fatu says he's talking to Sikoa first, but Rhodes says, "Okay, I'll talk to him last then." We then go to commercial break and come back, and Fatu is looking for Sikoa backstage, and he is pissed. We then get Wade Barrett back in the arena. He talks to Trish Stratus, who's in the crowd. She's excited for Elimination Chamber in her hometown, and then she is going to be there. We then get Naomi. She defeats Chelsea Green via pinfall following the split-legged moonsault, and this gets Naomi into the Elimination Chamber. We then get Sami Zayn. He says he has a banged-up neck after the attack from Kevin Owens, and he knows that they have history of turning on each other, and he can't believe Owens is going this nuts over not helping him at the Royal Rumble. When Zayn is cleared, they are going to do this again. We then get the Motor City Machine Guns defeating Los Garzas when they hit the Skull and Bones on Berto. We then get Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. They finally found Solo, who said he needed time away after losing to Roman Reigns. It's time to start taking over everything, and that starts with Fatu winning tonight so he can get the title back to the family. We then get Shinsuke Nakamura. He comes out to have a chat. He has been waiting for a worthy challenger for weeks now, but there are no warriors here worthy of him. LA Knight comes out to interrupt, saying Nakamura is out here looking for a test, and that is clearly a lie. Knight had him beat when Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu interfered, and he's the test Nakamura is looking for, but here comes the Miz to interrupt. Miz isn't impressed with Knight, who mocks Miz for saying the same thing for years. Why can't Miz start his own farewell tour like John Cena so he can go away? Miz then mocks Knight for saying it's okay for men to cry, but Knight says Miz and Drew McIntyre have to be at the top of the list of crybabies. Miz says Knight doesn't have his resume, and now he wants the U.S. title. Knight just says, "Dude, you suck." And then he threatens to do the BFT to him, but Miz kind of scurries outside and makes a match between the two. And then LA Knight defeats The Miz via pinfall following a BFT and a top rope elbow. We then cut to the back where Liv Morgan suggests that she'll win Elimination Chamber and face Nia Jax when Nia Jax wins the title back tonight. And then we kind of see the Wyatt Six symbol, and then Alexa Bliss comes up and talks to her old pal and rival Nia Jax for a little bit, just to kind of freak him out. So seemingly she's somewhat correlated with the Wyatt Six still, which is disappointing, but we'll kind of see where that goes. Miz then runs into Andrade, who offers to teach him something after his loss. With Andrade gone, Carmelo Hayes comes up to say people don't respect people like them. Miz suggests a partnership with Hayes, but Hayes leaves for his match. We then get Carmelo Hayes defeating R-Truth via pinfall following the Nothing But Net. We then get a Street Profits promo where they say they don't know why people are mad at them, but once Angelo Dawkins is cleared, the rest of the tag division is in trouble and they want the smoke. We then get DIY. They interrupt a Pretty Deadly promo who are ready for their tag title shot next week, and Tommaso Ciampa threatens them with some violence. We then get one of KO's car promos where he talks about how everyone has betrayed him in the last 6 months and invites Sami Zayn to come find him at Elimination Chamber, which is obviously in Canada, and then Zayn will know pain. Tiffany Stratton then defeats Nia Jax via DQ when Candice LeRae cuts her off from hitting the prettiest moonsault ever. Post-match, the beatdown is on, but Trish Stratus jumps the barricade and makes the save. Jax wrecks Stratton and Stratus. After that, then Charlotte comes in and kind of mocks Stratton and says that she is the one that she's going to be challenging at WrestleMania. So Jey Uso versus Gunther is official. Charlotte versus Tiffany is official. So we've got our 2 Rumble winners selecting our matches. So whoever wins the Chambers will face Rhea Ripley and Cody Rhodes, respectively. We then get Nick Aldis. He shows Naomi and Bianca a video showing Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez near the scene of Jade Cargill's attack. They're going to Raw to deal with this themselves. Trish Stratus then runs into Tiffany Stratton backstage and offers to team with her against Nia Jax and Candice at Elimination Chamber. We then get Drew McIntyre. He comes up to Jimmy Uso to mock him for not qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. Says at least Jimmy married up, obviously talking about him being married to Naomi. McIntyre then accidentally on purpose calls him Jay again, which ends up getting him a super kick from Jimmy. So Jimmy gets a little bit of revenge. Braun Strowman then gets interviewed and is ready to get some gold, and he's coming for Cody Rhodes after he qualifies tonight and wins the Elimination Chamber. But that doesn't work out for Braun as he eats the pin when Damian Priest defeats him and Jacob Fatu when he hits the South of Heaven chokeslam on Braun Strowman. This qualifies Priest for the Elimination Chamber, and Priest and Rhodes kind of share a face-off towards the end of the match as Rhodes had kind of come out to cut off Solo from helping Jacob Fatu win the match. So Priest and Rhodes kind of end the show with a stare down. And yeah, that event was a big meaty men slapping meat fest. Was a really, really hard hitting and a pretty solid match on SmackDown. And then we will finish our show with the Vengeance Day kind of recap. We open with Stephanie McCurry defeating Fallon Henley via pinfall with a corkscrew moonsault. And this allows Stephanie McCurry to become the new North American Women's Champion. We go to our tag team title match where Fraxium defeats Inamura and Briggs when they hit a missile dropkick leg sweep combo on Inamura. Post-match, they show some respect, and then we get our four people that have been in the vignettes over the last few months. They kind of appear out of the crowd and beat Fraxium and Inamura and Briggs down pretty well. And they're left standing with no one else that was in the match. They're all laid out. We then get the D'Angelo family. They're backstage. They're not happy with Izzy Dame turning on them. So Sean Spears and company could beat Tony D down. Stax is going to take care of this on his own, and he is on his own as he talks because the D'Angelo family is the only family in NXT. So he's going to face Sean Spears on NXT later this week. We then get the strap match where Eddie Thorpe actually gets a surprise win over Trick Williams via pinfall after he low blows him with the strap, and then he hits. I think it was supposed to be like a running knee or a running drop kick or something like that, but it looked absolutely awful. This match was not very good whatsoever. I think Thorpe is kind of way over his batting, area or whatever. I don't know what you want to say, but he's a little out of his range in this match, I would say. And Trick, I don't really see why he had to take the loss here. I don't really know where they're going with him. I feel like if he's going to be taking losses like this, he needs to just go on up and do something different. Because if he's taking losses to Eddie Thorpe, it's obviously that he's not look to be in a title picture going towards the biggest show of the year. So real weird result, real not very good match. I think Trick is talented deep down. I don't think he has been put in there with guys that he has particularly good chemistry with lately. I'm probably making excuses for him, but this match was not very good whatsoever. So, but we'll move from there. We get a Ricky Starks promo. He says he's going to sign his NXT deal. He again doesn't say what his name is. He just says he says the Absolute is gonna sign his NXT deal on Tuesday, so he's going to officially sign. We then get Ethan Page. He defeats Javon Evans via pinfall following the twisted. Believe it's called it's the Twist of Fate, but I believe he's calling it the Twisted Grin, which is pretty good name, or the Twisted Smile, something like that. We then get Stephanie McCurr. She is happy with her win earlier in the night, but she says her night isn't over because she'll be watching the women's title match very keenly later. We then get Oba Femi. He defeats Grayson Waller and Austin Theory when he hits the fall from Grace powerbomb on Waller. Post-match, the lights go out again, and the four guys again show up and come down and beat down Oba Femi, hitting like a quadruple toss powerbomb on Femi before leaving. And then Ava says she'll deal with the four of them later. She doesn't know what they're about, but she has to worry about the show in Cincinnati, Ohio first. Lexis King has texted her 22 times, but then she moves on to talking about a show in New York City in 2 weeks later. Ariana Grace then pops in and thanks Ava for making her the liaison to TNA. She introduces Santino, who has apparently met Ava before. Ava then teases mentioning something about Santino and Grace being related, but it eventually leaves to talk business with Santino. And then we get our main event, which is a women's title match where Julia defends her women's title successfully, defeating Roxanne Perez, Bayley, and Cora Jade when she hits the Arrivederci knee, followed by the Northern Lights bomb on Roxanne. And then post-match, Stephanie McCurr comes out, and they pose with their titles before Jordan Grace comes out as well, and then they have kind of a three-way stare down to end the show. The women's title match was the best match. Absolutely. They made the absolute correct choice, making that the main event. And I believe that they should main event the Stand and Deliver show as well, as it seems we're either going to get Vikur and Julia or Vikur, Julia, and Jordan Grace going forward. So if you're going to main event with those two or three, or two of those three, or all three together, that definitely needs to main event the show for sure. But we'll run through some TV match rankings, the pay-per-view match rankings real quick. Briscoe and Fletcher was the best TV match for me this week, followed by Damage Control and Liv and Raquel. Number 3 would be that triple threat tag team match from NXT. Number 4 would be MJF versus Dustin Rhodes. And then number 5 would be that triple threat main event of SmackDown between Priest, Fatu, and Strowman. And as far as the Stand and Deliver card, or not Stand and Deliver, Vengeance Day, there were 6 matches. So Trick and Eddie Thorpe obviously got left off just based on the fact that I said it wasn't very good. And it did not make the top 5. Women's title would be number 1. Tag title would be number 2. Evans and Page would be number 3. The NXT Championship match would be number 4. And the Women's North American Championship match would be number 5. Now, none of those matches were bad at all. They were just varying degrees of good to great. So I would say the women's title match and the tag team title matches were great. And then the other ones were pretty good to, really good, I'd say. But really good NXT card. Interested to see what they do with this new group. It seems to all be rookies. One of them is definitely Deion Lennox, as his little mask came off. And I believe another one's name is Cutler James. He's been on, like Level Up and all that kind of stuff a lot lately. But they didn't really, the other 2 guys aren't guys that have been on TV a lot or really been on anything that I have seen him in. So, but we'll see what that is, if it's just going to be the 4 guys or if they're going to eventually have a leader that comes in. But I'm really interested to see NXT on Tuesday. I don't often say that, but I'm interested to see what they kind of do and unveil and reveal what they're going to do going forward. So really good week, solid week to TV matches, and a really solid PLE for NXT. So thank you for joining me as always, and we'll see you next week.
Lights go up,